Hello! It's time for another Peerless Drew live stream. I'm going to adjust my camera while I'm waiting for anybody to show up at all. Let's see. We gotta do manual focus too. That's good. When the brightness can come up a bit. Yes, there we go. Perfect. And the sharpness can come up a bit. Yeah, you know. Use up the gain. Yeah. It's pretty good. All right. So I have 4 viewers. MX-XII got here early. Yeah, you just got here at the start of the stream. So today we're going to be discussing some of the details of X-Transbot's Gravestone. The first order of business is to take the stupid weapons out of his hands. And I'm just going to curl his hands back up the way I like. What's nice is in the instructions they have you like doing stuff with the thumb, or at least he comes with his thumb in a weird position. You really don't have to do that. You can just put his thumb in a normal position, and then when you transform it, just leave it in a normal position. Let's straighten him up and transform him. It'll be just like the stop motion transformation, but I can stop and point things out. X-Transbots still has a bit of an issue with clearances. They always do. But not as bad as I got to do their version of skids, and boy, I mean, you had to move like all bunch of parts like into certain positions just to make room for other parts to move. So those positions weren't even the final positions. This is what I call parking. And I don't prefer parking, but I can put up with it in limited extents. Even the revered Takara figures will park a little bit sometimes. But he's way out of frame here. So I'm going to bring him down. And I suppose I will have to adjust the focus. We want to get a good view of how the arms go. But we're just going to bring it up. And we're going to bend the elbow 90 degrees and rotate it up. And he's still too tall. It's amazing how tall he can be. All right. I find it helps to have a little something here to pry, but I like to hold this and then just kind of pop this. It's a tight little like octagon joint, but we're just trying to rotate it around the other way. And then we can lower this down. This is actually part of the top of the truck. And then we can pop that away, and we can rotate this down and kind of park it. There's like an indentation in the upper arm, so you can park it like that, and then this can come the other direction and park like that. So I'm gonna have to do the same thing with the other arm, but I won't do it quite as on camera as that one because it's just the same thing again. All right, so we got the arms tucked away here. Now the next thing is, or the last thing, depending on what direction you're going in, but the chest piece, this is all die cast. So this is mostly what makes it, this and the thighs make it really heavy. But there's just a link joint, or a tab there, and then you can lower this down. There's a little bit of a double joint here in the hips. I don't know if it's 100% necessary. I haven't really stopped to think about it. This is discombobulating and I don't want it to, so I'm just going to fix it real quick. Avert your eyes. This is not happening. Anyway, so I'm just going to lower the chest down. The whole secret here is we're trying to free up space to flip the head over. And so there's a number of things that have to happen before you can do that. One is to get the wheels out, which is a little easier once you get the back in this direction. But we also have to get the arms out of the way. I'll tell you what's stacked here. You have to open the windows. To open the windows, you need to move these panels out of the way. And to move those panels out of the way, you gotta go ahead and transform them. Anyway, so we're gonna put this on camera, so I'm not like every other reviewer. We're just flipping that up. This can be a little tricky, but the main thing is you just want to kind of send it this direction a little bit, and then you can get it off of this tab. So I'm gonna push up, send it in that direction, and it'll pop off pretty easily. And then we can close this panel here. Then we can put the arm back, and the arm will actually tab there. Now we've done that one. Just flops down. So we're just going to do the same thing over here. Not necessarily perfectly on camera. Just going to flip it open. Lift it up, pop it off. Flip up this thing. This thing will actually come loose sometimes, and there's kind of a little trick to catching it and pulling it out even when it's completely transformed in a truck mode. But now these are out of the way, so we can do what? We can open the windshield. So we'll open that out of the way. Now in the video, once the arms were up, I did this torso part just because the arms were out of the way. But the main thing is this is like on a little bit of a double joint. It's just to give it a little bit of clearance. It never really does more than just flip into this position. And then you can see here, this assembly, you can see this this bit here, this T-shaped bit. It's got a hinge point there and a hinge point here. So it's a bit of like an extension hinge. And the whole thing, this whole thing is going to flip over when it's in truck mode. But for now, our main goal here is to pull it out. You can see this tab here. We just want to pull it out so that it clears, and then we can flip the whole thing down as soon as everything else is out of the way, I guess. Just this stupid thing discombobulated again. This one won't quite sit right for me, so it pops up easily. The other side seems to sit fine. But now we can flip this up. We're just going to leave it like that. I can't wait till I finish with that. We're just going to leave it extended and out because we're trying to make lots of space in the interior for the head to flip around. Now that we're here, we can actually push the wheels out a little easier. But they come out the front. Come out the front. And they actually do have to kind of tilt like this to fit underneath here. So that's part of the reason they ended up putting a steering mechanism in the wheels, but they're not linked, you know. Don't fool yourself. Now this is a little bit of parking, but there's really the only way to do it, and it's what the instructions explain. But basically you want to fold these all the way in like this, and then fold it under like that. Because now we have just enough clearance to flip the head and bumper bit around. So we're going to do that. It catches a little bit on the interior, but not too badly. And then we're done. We don't have to go all the way because we're going to put the chest piece away anyway, which we may as well do now. It doesn't matter. So we'll flip these, and it really helps to get these so that they're centered and touching. It'd be nice if they would have like tabbed together or something, but they don't. But don't leave them spread out at all. Get them touching in the middle. And then this double joint goes right back where it was. It kind of inserts down into there. And we want to see, because you can see it just barely has enough room to fit there. And the whole thing tabs there. And now we got to get this thing we parked out of the way. So we're going to flip them completely around, and then we're going to fold them in like that. And then we can close the windshield. And then we can do the top. Now the top won't line up properly unless, remember I said this T-joint is like a double hinge. We want to make sure that it kind of rocks forward. And then the top can tab on to the tabs that hold it. And we're good there. This is a weak point for some people. I saw someone on a forum where this had broken. You can see it's like a little turntable. And it's plastic. It maybe shouldn't be plastic, but sometimes there's good arguments for plastic too. You can see like a kind of a white stress mark there, but it's just on the pin. I don't think it's hurting anything. But we want to slide this down, and actually allows the thing to flop over more once you slide it down. But that's the truck position, the final position. Now this flips up. And then these go away, and it's not too bad. You could try to do it before, but it's so much easier once you have everything taken care of to deal with these, and it's not that hard to do. I fold them at like about a 45-degree angle, and then when you fold this in, you can see it goes there, and then when you go all the way, it flattens itself out. And by the same token, when you take it out, you can just pull it out. But you just want it to be, you want it to barely clear right there in the middle, so that it's still at the kind of a 45-degree angle, so it'll self-flatten when you close it down. We're going to do the same thing on this one. And now those side covers are out of the way. And then we're going to bring the arms up, and what I like to do is I like to go ahead and pretty much tab the one. And you got to leave it a little loose here at the bottom, so I don't bother getting that. It's actually on like a sliding joint, you can see it. So it can kind of expand out and then expand back in. It doesn't really serve any purpose other than to give it a little freedom of movement so that you can just leave it loose for a good reason. We'll just leave it alone for now. And that's that. And we can go ahead and raise this up. And now we can focus on the legs. So the legs spread out, they rotate just below the knee so that he's pigeon-toed. And then we're going to start getting all this together. So you can do it in any order you like, but it helps to get stuff out of the way. So we'll get that out of the way. And this is just easier to do when everything's out of the way. But this is a die-cast heel spur here, and then this is plastic. I think. There's a really firm snap connection there, which is what prevents it from folding when he's standing on the heel spur. And it does flip all the way around, and the key thing is to get it back out, you have to kind of, there's space here where you can stick something to push on it, but you can get it back out that way. And once you get that out, then you can get the heel spur out. So easy. So we'll flip that over, and then we'll take the faux wheels and we'll flip them up, and that kind of forms a sort of bumper. And then we take this whole foot piece and we slide it to the side. We're leaving these disengaged for now, for good reason. So we're just going to do the same thing with the other foot. Maybe I get a moment here I can glance at my hello PAK. He asked me about doing a live stream, and I figured if someone is going to ask me about it, be interested in it, I'm going to take my chances even though I'm on call, that I won't get interrupted in the middle of the live stream. So you can thank PAK for me doing an unusual on-call live stream. So now that's out of the way, we're gonna lower this out of the way here. We can put this. Well, okay, so I'm gonna get these out of the way for now, but we're gonna do all that in a minute. The thing with the feet is they have this hook and slot, and while everything is still loose, while everything is still not tabbed together, it's a good idea to go ahead and do those. And once you do those, you can tab this part here. So So we want those nice and firm, tabbed in the middle, and then you can capture these tabs with the slots under these flats. And now it's fairly stable. And then you can collapse this. Nice and easy. You can do each leg individually if it suits you. I find I can put my finger here and my thumb there on both sides, and I can lift it easily. And I don't know, it's a certain degree of elegance that I like having them both go together like that, if they can. All right. So now, I've got to change my angle here. Now we're just going to open up the back of the truck that covers the wheels. We're going to flip them like that, and then rotate them around like that. And the same thing over here. And then we can close these up, and there's tabs here, one for each side. And of course there's tab slots underneath this plate. And so we're just tabbing it all in and making sure that it hits that tab. And we do the same thing over here. Make sure they tab. There. And I leave these folded up. It's a little bit of a rub. It's a little bit of a clearance issue, but it's just easier to deal with. So you can kind of unfold them. It just gets them out of the way right away so that you can fold the legs around. But that goes in. And this side is like the finished side. So this side I'm just going to go ahead. Here's the trick. Like if the flap gets caught in, you get it out, kind of hold it there, and then get a fingernail right on that bit of detail work, and you can pull on it and get it back in alignment. Putting this away is like the hardest part of this thing, and was the hardest part when I was because it comes in truck mode, transforming it for the first time. But we've got this side is done, so it's tabbed in and firm. So this one is the first one we're going to do, and there's like these little tabs here, and they go into little slots on the back of the thing. But we get the firm one put away first, and now we're going to put this one away, and it'll fit in there while this is still loose. But then we can take the arm and push it in and tab it, and then we can clean up the tabbing on this side, and then we can fix this again, because if you bump it, it will discombobulate. And there we go. There's the truck. Pull the wheels out all the way, and you can rotate them for dynamic effect, dramatic effect. He's a little smaller than, like, these cars are, they're a little big compared to him. I don't have anyone in car mode right now, and I'm not gonna. But it's pretty good scaling. They make sure that the cars are smaller than the truck. All right, we'll take a little break before we go back to robot mode and look at the comments. Yeah, I don't have my MP44s downstairs. I'm not going to get it. But I've noticed comparison pictures of him in MP44, and he's a little bit taller than the Takara MP truck. So he's a little more bigger and imposing than MP44, MP10. Pillowhead says, love your stop motions. Thank you. Takara getting killed by third party. I don't know. I mean, Takara still has their niche. People complain about MP44, but his main crime, in my opinion, is that he looks exactly like the cartoon, and the cartoon's a little bit derpy. The cartoon's got a little tiny upper body and really long legs, because I swear to God, the cartoonists were like, let's make them look like 12-year-old boys. And so they did. They did the proportions that way. Just because, you know, their target demographic was 12 to 14-year-old kids. But Takara nails that aesthetic. I mean, they look just like the cartoon. MP44 looks just like the cartoon, and it's got that level of complexity that I like. So I don't really have any complaints about MP44, other than, you know, it succeeds in looking like the stupid cartoon. Yeah, right, Pack. People break stuff all the time. Because they don't wait for my video to come out first, so they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to do it right. How long does it take you to master a third-party transformation? It's pronounced Pack, brother. Oh no, that's cool. I reverted to calling you Pack instead of PAK, so I already fixed it. It takes me. Like, I sit down with the manual for what it's worth. The X-Transbot manuals aren't bad. Some manuals I don't like, especially the Hasbro manuals, will show you like a picture of the part to move. Let's find something to move, like this wheel. It'll show you a picture of the wheel this way, and then it has like an arrow, like move it like this. But then it doesn't have a picture of it at the end. So you have to look at the next picture where they're already talking about something else, or they've already done one of those 180 things and they're talking about something else, and you can't see where it was supposed to end up definitively. And X-Transbots does a pretty good job in their instructions of showing a movement and then having another picture that's like this. Make sure it looks like this. And that's a nice touch. Other than that, though, the manuals, I have one here, actually for this guy. So let me just show you what I'm talking about, because these manuals aren't bad, but they're kind of funny because they use a lot of verbs that I don't think they understand. So this was open the buckle, open the panel in the direction of the arrow. But then this is what I like. It says transformed. I'm sorry, you guys can't see that for shit. The lights are too bright. But it says transformed as the picture. So it gives you like a little, like, you know, this is where you're supposed to be right now, which is nice. But the English is funny because it's, you know, open the panel in the direction of the arrow, open the panel in the direction of the arrow, transformed as the picture once again. So it stops, the manual stops and kind of lets you compare what you've been doing to their picture so that you can keep track of it. They use some funny verbs sometimes. I don't know if I can. Rotates the panel 90 degrees in the direction of the arrow, which reminds me of like 7. Or no, what is it? Silence of the Lambs, where he's like, it puts the lotion in the bucket. All right, hit my own camera. A channel with no content says X-Transbots have come a long way since their slightly floppy Megatron, though in fairness it was good looking for its time. Sure. I think X-Transbots has some decent engineers. They just, they're not entirely familiar with the concept of clearance. But they're doing a lot better than they did when I did skids. I've always loved Motormaster's vehicle mode. Those upper sleep cab windows give it an imposing, mean feel, like an evil Optimus done right. Oh yeah, or it gets the hose. Exactly, Pack. So we'll go back to robot mode, and because I like to display in robot mode, so I just do both when I do these, and we'll discuss it. It's a bit of a challenge to get this started. I didn't firm it all the way down, but frankly, I've used just a sharp-bladed knife to get it started. I know metal and plastic, there's controversy there, but I think I'll start by... I like these because it's a smooth, it's like a polished edge, but we need to get this started to get these out of the way. I like to get these out of the way. And that also kind of opens this up. But we're just trying to get that side loose. You don't have to get both sides loose right away. Just this one side needs to be loose so that you can... The key thing here is we're trying to get this... There's like a tab you can maybe see down in that crevice. I'll point it out later. There's the tab you can see. It goes into a slot. But once this arm is loose, then it's a lot easier to get this this part loose. And you don't even have to really do the other side because you can just kind of push it in and make it loose. So you're just kind of loosening up that one side. But you still do have to pull this out and flip this out of the way. With this like this, originally I was going to do the video where I flip this down, and then I realized that you can just untab this immediately and you don't have to flip it to flip it. So I just do it like that. And then you can just go ahead and flip that around, flip this, close it. Which I didn't do in the video because it wasn't a good angle for showing that, but you can do it right away as desired. And then you can flip this out of the way. So you can, I like to kind of handle like a part like this completely. Just do all the things and then move on to the next step. So we're going to loosen these. Well, I'm going to go ahead and do the extension first, like I said. So I'm just going to put a finger on there and push up on this. So you're just kind of squeezing it up. Because it is two slides next to each other, there's a lot of friction to overcome. But you don't want to yank it. Never yank a slide joint like that if you can avoid it. I don't have very organized thoughts on the matter, but there is like a right and a wrong way to do any of these to avoid breaking them, which is, you know, if you're going to move a joint, you know, try to manipulate a joint like as close to where the pins actually are as possible. Don't manipulate it from far away. Like really get in and, you know, manipulate the joint. It's not very important for this joint, but it's just a general principle. But then we're going to pop these loose so the feet are loose. We're going to pop the middle a little bit. And now we can untab this easily. The instructions tell you to do that much earlier, and it's scary and a pain in the ass to do it that way. So I do it after I've loosened everything else around it. But we slide the feet in. We fold down the faux wheels. Faux wheel, man. And then we use a tool to get that started. Flip that out. And then this this big tab here actually fits into a slot on the knee, the slider. So that actually really holds it in place and keeps the knee from re-collapsing, which is nice. Flip the wheels, flip out the heel spur, maybe. Lock it, flip out the remainder of the spur, and then we can close that up. And then we rotate at the knee. And now we can stand them up. And if you're doing a stop motion video, it's really handy to get the legs done and stand them up. But it makes pretty good sense for this generally. Just, I like to work it apart or transform apart until it's done. Which is what drove me nuts if you watch the skids, the XTB skids transformation. It had so many things where it was like, okay, you got to do this part way, and then you can do this, and you had to keep switching back and forth, and it was a pretty obnoxious little transformation. But now we can bend this down at the waist. Just being careful with this joint. We don't want to put too much pressure on it anyway, because that person that posted a picture of it like broke right there, but they must have really pulled on it or something, or maybe it was a manufacturing defect or something. But it's really not that fragile if you treat it right. You got to treat your robots right, man. This doesn't seem to want to untab. There we go. So we bring that forward, and then we can do this part. So I'm just gonna reach in here and pop that out, straighten that. Same thing over here. And then this flips down to kind of secure it. Like I said, this side goes all the way down really nicely. This one likes to kind of ooze back up, which is a little annoying. And then while we're back here, we can untab the roof line. It just tabs on a couple of tabs right there. And then we want to lift it up on that double joint. So maybe you can see it articulating there. But we're just kind of levitating it a little bit so the joint's straight up. And then we can flip the cab out of the way for now. And we can actually do the waist now, because we're doing all our prep work to flip the head around. So it's a little bit like MP44 in that regard. MP44 you had to do like a lot of prep work to free up. But in fairness to this figure, this flip around is a lot easier than MP44's. It's a lot easier to know that you've done it right, and that you're finished. MP44 is a little scary that way. But we fold these all the way around, and we kind of park them there, because otherwise it won't have clearance to do the flip around. And then we can go around this side. lift up the bumper a little bit to free that tab. There is a little bit of a tab there. And then there's a little bit of a scrape there. You know, like there's a clearance issue, but there's no way to get around it. And then I like to disarticulate that double hinge there just so this can kind of hang down out of the way. And we open these up, all die cast with plastic finishing. All right, so now we're all ready for the flip. So we're just going to flip this around. Make sure the head doesn't get caught on stuff. You can see those get caught a little bit right there, those corners, but not too bad. And we flip it all the way around. And then we just can go ahead and get this up and open. And just leave it up because it's what's going to tab the chest in. Then we flop the wheels sideways a little bit and we shove in one after the other. So they're inside the chest. It kind of pushes on the tire. I swear, I think these designers will design these things and not really think there's a tire. You know, like their CAD drawings don't have a tire yet. And they kind of forget that the tire has a thickness and has a size. And so we're going to flip this down now and lock it. You have to do one after the other because that's how it tabs. I'm sorry, right there. And then we'll go ahead and get the arms out of the way before we do the back. But we're just going to flip the arm out of the way on its butterfly joint. Flip a little panel down here to leave a hole. And then we're just going to push it up, kind of forward of where it's going to be. Get it onto that hook, and then it'll slide back and be fairly firmly hooked. And then we fold this in half and fold it down. Then we can just park the arm back here out of the way. I'm just going to do the other arm real quick, and then we can do the backpack part. All right. Now that we have a good view of this backpack, the key thing is this this joint needs to be fully extended. So you see it looks like a T at the moment. It's not ahead of where it's supposed to be or, you know, too far behind. It's as extended as you can make it. That way, when you flip this down, this scary little bit here needs to be aimed so that it's under this goddamn thing needs to be under the shoulder joint, and then you can collapse it down. And then this part just hides under there, which I thought was a clever design nod. I forgot to do the slide for the waist, so you just want to be careful sliding the waist. Maybe that's how the guy broke it, by not being careful with the waist. And then this flips down like this, and these hooks actually kind of capture the arms a little bit, and then this captures the top. Now we're almost done. We just got to do the arms again. And again, he's too tall for that. So we flip out. There's a little bit of a catch here. A little bit of a ridge that you can catch, but you just overextend this. Flip this up and fold it, and then there, and we can I don't remember which way the hands go at the moment, so I'm just going to leave them alone. Flip this over like this, and then close this around. Then we can pop that out and flip it over. It's interesting. This time it even in the video I turned the hand around, but it just occurred to me that you don't have to. I stowed these hands in their natural position, and I mean, officially, the way they tell you to do it, they want you to like reverse the thumb. Here's how he came packed originally. But I don't know. I discovered that you don't have to do the thumb, but you actually don't even have to do the rotation because it still parks fine. It still parks into that spot, and so don't do the rotation. Ignore that part of my video. Flip this up and capture it. Flip this up and flip this around. See, the hands are already in its natural position. I don't have to rotate it. Interesting. And then we finish with the figure. Articulate that out a little bit. Make him pretty. And then he's tall. Get my camera up a little bit. He's a big boy. And you can see him next to The other one's in my backpack, and I'm not going to get it. But next week I can pose them all together. But you can see he scales nicely with his minions, his terrified team members. But there you have it. Fix my focus here. Got your fans toys, or the not fans toys, X-Transbots, Gravestone, third-party Motormaster. A channel with no content says sliding joints with no release button always terrify me a bit. Yeah, there's no release, but the side panels lock his knees in both positions. So there's like a there is a release. Shark 7 is here. Yeah, I didn't look too far into DX9s after I saw that ridiculous trailer of theirs. Maybe they'll have the last laugh because, I mean, technically X-Transbots hasn't released their trailer, so they might still be working on it. So maybe their trailer will be just as silly by the time it's done. I really do like DX9's design team, though, so I have nothing against DX9. Well, one of my favorite figures from the last year was DX9 Lahir. Just such a crazy complicated transformation, but no clearance issues. Very clean. I love Lahir. All right, folks. That's all I got to talk about. I'm out of things to talk about. I'll give you a couple of minutes to present anything else you want to talk about, and then we'll wind down the stream. Yeah, I like Unique Toys, man. They've done some really good stuff over the years, especially their recent movie work. Peru Kill and Challenger, amazing. And I got the Megatron Dragoon is on the way. I got my shipping notice, but it's not tracking yet. But I'm looking forward to Dragoon. That's a clever looking figure. Crack Up is in my book bag because he's getting shot this Sunday. So I'm still working out. Someone had asked me earlier how long it takes to work it out, and fairly quickly I understand where all the joints are and where all the components are, and then I just spend a lot of time fiddling with it and figuring out how I can present it. Because there are some optional sorts of things, you know, you can do it in any, you can do some things in any order, but I always like to try to figure out how to get the legs out so I can just stand it up. And Crack Up's no exception. It should be a fairly clean transformation. There's a couple of joints that are a little loose, so I'll just have to cheat. But Crack Up he's in my backpack, so that I can take him to work with me and practice occasionally. Do I like G1 or G2 versions of this best? I don't know. I mean, I seem to have gotten the G1 version. If I understand correctly, you're talking about like those weird colored G2 versions. And I'm not a big fan of the weird colored ones. I know a lot of people are like, ooh. But I like the normal colored ones. Any other questions? 2-minute warning. We're shutting this business down in 2 minutes. It's 6:43, 6:45. It's over. I appreciate everybody dropping by, watching it live. Of course, I appreciate anyone who comes by later and watches it not live. Could still have useful information for those of you that own the figure. Thanks, Peck. Thanks for harassing me to do this. I'm always scared I'm going to get a call in the middle of doing this, but we got lucky. DX9's group looks a little odd to me. Their Motormaster's fake feet aren't disguised as well, and it bugs me that you just plug the bots into combined mode. Well, this one's the same way. These guys are the same way. You have to plug the combined mode is like basically the trailer of Motormaster. The trailer turns into the feet, the shins, the thighs, the hips, the torso, the upper arms, the lower arms, the fists, the head. It turns into the entire Motormaster. And then these just kind of plug onto it. But if you're going with cartoon accuracy, which everyone seems to be trying to do, that's how you got to do it, because the cartoon was ridiculous. There's no way to make this team do what it's supposed to do and make it look like the cartoon. I have the Fans Project. The old Fans Project sort of sub chug sized Menasor. It's super cool, but and it doesn't form like that. Although the Fans Project, it still kind of has shins built into it, so it's more stable, more like an action figure when you're done combining it. But it's a better combiner. I'm really enjoying doing the help me, the MMC all-in combiner for Bruticus. But Bruticus is a little better designed, like visually cartoon, so the arms and the legs are actually made out of the vehicles. All right, well that's it for today. Thanks for dropping by. Everyone have a good week, and look for the final member of this team on Sunday. Bye-bye.